You can stick with a hardwired strategy when it comes to investing. Choose the stocks you like one by one, or select Sector Spider ETFs and add the diversification of an entire sector of the S&P 500, like technology, with liquidity, all-day tradability, and transparency. Ready to add diversification to your equity investments? Before investing, consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. Go to sectorspiders.com for prospectus containing this information. Read it carefully. Visit us at sectorspiders.com.
Welcome to Marketplace Minute. I'm Ron DeLegge with ETF Guide. Well, let's talk about the 411 on retirement investing trends. Here to chat with us about that is Ron Surz. He's president of PPCA. His firm focuses on investment portfolio construction. Ron, great to catch up with you.
Thanks, Ron. Good to be with you.
EBRI projects that 44% of baby boomer and Generation X households are at risk of running out of money at retirement. So as a rule of thumb, how much of their income should people be saving for retirement?
Yeah. Well, I think there's several rules of thumb, and let me share with your audience some of the places that they can go to get some help. And somebody just told me yesterday, and this is really a cool website, it's the Department of Labor Calculator, easy to find. And what it does is you input sort of how much you have today, how much you're saving, and it will tell you how much you can spend in retirement. Now, there's a lot of debate about how you calculate all that, but I think it's very helpful. And so I recommend that, Department of Labor Calculator. The second thing is, not too long ago, the Wall Street Journal ran an article about how to figure out how much you need to save to support a current level of spending. And the number is 22. So if you want to spend $100,000 a year in retirement, you need $2.2 million when you get to retirement. That's really a mind opener. And then if you back up from that, so if I need that much money, maybe 100,000 is more than what most people are envisioning, but it's easy to do the math. Back out from that, how much you need to save, and it's going to be 10 to 15% of pay for a reasonably paid employee. So you're thinking probably with an employer match that you're 8% with an employer match in addition to that. Mm-hmm. That's probably more than most people are saving. That's why the EBRI is seeing that. And I'll probably just stop there.
A common problem with retirement savers is a misallocation of their investment savings. For example, many people under age 40 have too much exposure to cash and bonds. Conversely, people above age 50 have too much exposure to high risk or volatile assets, and they put their retirement savings at risk. So just talk about that.
Sure. That's really a tough question, and a lot of people are dealing with this. A lot of talk about the accumulation phase and what that should look like. People are really grappling with the solution for retirement. But I think the common wisdom, and I sort of agree with this, is the younger employees can take more risks. They have a longer horizon. They can recover from losses. They can work harder. They have a lot of options available to them. But as you get closer to retirement, those options are more limited. So if you were unfortunate enough to lose money as you're nearing retirement, you can try to work longer, but that's going to be hard to do. You can try to work harder, but the bottom line is the option that you will probably take is to reduce your standard of living. So you probably want to be conservative as you get there. Now, some of the pat answers are really pretty interesting. There's a recent paper that's gotten a lot of traction by Wade Pfau and Michael Kitces that advocates a U-shaped glide path. And this is interesting in that I definitely agree with them that as you get older, you should become more conservative, try to defend your savings. But what they argue is that as you get older, you should again increase your equity exposure. And they have some, I think, fairly legitimate reasons for doing that. I won't do it justice trying to explain it now. But it's a new view in contrast to what many academics recommend. Now, I'm going to tell you a solution, but it only works for the really wealthy. And their solution is what's called pockets of money. So if you're really wealthy and you want to buy a yacht 5 years from now, you buy a bond that will mature 5 years from now and pay for that yacht. And then if you want to send the grandkids to school 10 years from there, you buy a bond that will pay for that. So it's sort of laying aside pockets of money. A lot of academics embrace that. There's a professor at Harvard's V. Bodie, who's got, he's got a big following, but his solution only works for wealthy people.
Yes. Now let's change gears and let's talk about, there's been this emphasis on the accumulation of money by the financial services industry, and too little focus really on the decumulation phase when people begin to withdraw money from retirement savings. So why should we be paying attention to the latter?
Well, that is the most important. The latter trend is the end game. It's, you save during your lifetime so that you can retire in dignity. And again, people are trying to address that. Annuities probably would still be a fairly viable answer if it weren't for the fact that interest rates are so low now. So the concern is that you buy an immediate annuity in a 5% interest environment, and then we get serious inflation, and that annuity is paying you off in inflated money and not buying the goods and services that you really need when you're retired. So it's really tough today. I'm going to put it another way. Retirees have taken it in the shorts. I mean, interest rates are so low, you're almost forced to take more risk than you otherwise would have because you can't get a reliable income stream. I've written an article that's on my website, on Target Solutions website, called The 3 Stages of Investing. And it goes through the decisions during accumulation, then the transition, and then the retirement phase is the most complicated. And I compare this whole journey, the life's journey, to space travel. And it's like we leave Earth's atmosphere, and as we're leaving it, we need to be very careful because we burn up. And then what we need to do when we get into outer space is to set an orbit that won't decay. Because if it decays, we're toast. And so that journey is very mission specific. Each one of us needs to figure out our orbit, and it has a lot to do with lifestyle, and it has a lot to do with risk capacity and all that stuff. It's a really complicated question.
What about this rule of thumb that people can withdraw 4% from their retirement savings, and if that money is properly invested, well, they'll never have to worry about depleting their savings? Is the 4% rule still valid?
It's a valid rule of thumb that certainly worked prior to this low interest rate environment. But now if you're drawing down 4% and you're getting 2% on your money, you're withdrawing 2% principal now. And that sort of causes that rule of thumb in this environment to probably not be something you want to hang your hat on.
You just heard from Ron Surz, president of PPCA. I'm Ron DeLegge with ETF Guide. Thanks for watching Marketplace Minute.
Thank you.